The lights inside the Fremont Civic Auditorium were too bright, the kind that made even calm people sweat under pressure. The room was full, buzzing in that low hum you hear right before something big starts. It wasn't a concert or a flashy event. It was a live panel, co-hosted by CNBC and Stanford Law, titled The Future of Free Speech and Corporate Power. Big words, big names. But in truth, the whole room, cameras, audience, crew, had their eyes on just two seats at center. Stage. Elon Musk entered first. He looked like he had done this 100 times, maybe more. Dark blazer over a plain t-shirt, easy posture, a little smirk. He made a dry joke about how someone should regulate sarcasm on Twitter. The crowd laughed, not too loud, just enough to say, "Yep, that's Elon." He looked relaxed, comfortable, in charge. Then Jasmine Crockett walked in. She wasn't late, she wasn't early, just right on time. Her suit was sharp, all black. Her glasses caught the glare from the lights. She didn't wave, didn't smile, just gave one small nod to the moderator before taking her seat across from Musk. The only thing in her hands was a worn, tan manila folder. It wasn't on the schedule. No one had seen it in the prep notes. The moderator welcomed them both, ran through the intro quickly, and opened with some basic questions: platform policies, content moderation, algorithm transparency. Elon leaned back in his chair, answered like he always does, mixing tech talk with his usual lines about freedom, decentralization, and not taking things too seriously. His answers rolled out smooth. The audience nodded along. They'd heard this kind of thing from him before. Jasmine didn't interrupt. She didn't rush. She barely moved. She adjusted her mic once and leaned forward just slightly. Her eyes stayed steady on Elon. She hadn't spoken yet, but something about her presence made the whole room feel tighter, like the space between her and him was shrinking by the second. The camera director in the control room made a quiet call. Zoom in, hold the shot. No cuts, no crowd pans. Because, even though nothing had really started, something was clearly building. That folder on the table. Nobody knew what was inside yet. No one had any clue what was coming. Right now, all people saw were two public figures sitting across from each other. One calm, one confident, and the moment before everything began to shift. Jasmine didn't rush. She opened the folder slowly, like she had all the time in the world. Her voice was even. "I have a few simple questions," she said. Then she looked up at Elon.com as ever, and asked if Tesla ever submitted diversity and inclusion data for the Fremont plant between 2014 and 2017. Elon tilted his head, eyebrows raised. "I don't have that with me," he said, brushing it off. But Jasmine wasn't waiting for him to dig through excuses. She flipped a page and slid a printout across the table. An internal audit from 2016. It had never been made public. The summary pointed out gaps in racial equity, complaints that were logged and ignored, promotions that somehow always skipped the same kinds of people. The room went quiet. Elon's smile didn't exactly disappear, but it definitely stopped growing. He shifted in his seat, glanced at the moderator, then at the audience. Jasmine, still calm, didn't stop. She turned another page and placed another document down. This one was an internal email where a Tesla manager described certain factory workers as low-skill liabilities. Jasmine read that phrase out loud, slowly, the way you do when you know everyone needs to hear it twice. Elon leaned forward slightly, trying to look closer at the document. "That's not verified," he said. Jasmine didn't argue. She just added, "The source who provided this did so under penalty of perjury. Their identity has been submitted to the House Ethics Committee." The air got heavier. People in the third row were holding their breath. Next came a letter, not a single-page note, but a packet of signatures to 37 former and current Tesla workers who claimed they had been punished for speaking up. Elon tried to cut in again, this time with more frustration in his voice. "With all due respect, Congresswoman, this isn't a courtroom." Jasmine didn't raise her voice. "No," she said, "but it is live." The moderator looked uncomfortable now. He tried to steer the conversation back to safer ground, something about social media oversight, but Jasmine ignored it. She turned the next page. "This is from 2016, she said. "It involves a contractor named Samuel Reeves, who was fired after reporting unsafe machinery." She held up the document. Reeves had complained about exposed wires and missing safety covers. A report was never sent to OSHA. It was buried. Elon leaned back, sighing. "I don't handle individual HR issues," he muttered. Jasmine looked right at him. "I'm not asking you to." I'm asking why your company suppressed the report. And why Reeves got a no rehire label 2 weeks later. She tapped the page. Your initials are right here. On the HR clearance form. By now, the tension in the room had changed completely. Elon wasn't in charge of the pace anymore. Jasmine was. The camera didn't cut away. The control booth knew better. They stayed locked on the two of them. Tight shot. Nothing else. Then, she brought up another name. Christina Dillon, a former Tesla engineer who had spoken up online about pay issues at the Nevada plant. Her posts on X, the platform Elon bought and rebranded, had gone viral, and then disappeared. Jasmine looked out into the crowd. She's here tonight, she said, 3 rows back. The audience turned. A woman stood up. No signs, no anger, just quiet strength. I was told to sign a non-disparagement clause, Christina said. I refused. My posts were taken down. I lost job interviews because of it. Her voice didn't shake. It didn't need to. She said her piece and sat back down. Elon didn't say a word. Jasmine flipped another page. Another email. This one flagged safety concerns at a different site. And another messages from internal Slack channels where complaints were marked sensitive and rerouted away from HR. Elon reached for his water again. His hand missed the glass. He found it on the second try. A small thing, but obvious now. He was shaken. There was no shouting. No dramatic outbursts. Just one woman placing document after document on the table like puzzle pieces. Not trying to go viral. Not trying to destroy anyone. Just calmly exposing things that had been hidden. Elon had faced lawsuits before. Panels, interviews, protests. But this was different. He couldn't spin it. He couldn't dodge it. Because Jasmine wasn't debating. She wasn't performing. She was documenting. And with every page she turned, the space between them got smaller. Not physically, but in power. The richest man in the room was no longer the one in control. Jasmine didn't need to raise her voice. The truth was loud enough. Jasmine turned to the final section of her folder. She didn't build it up. There was no dramatic speech. She simply laid the paper down flat on the table in front of her and read the title. Confidential Settlement, Tesla Motors Inc. versus Jackson Family. Her voice didn't rise, but something about her tone made every eye in the room lift. Even Elon. Does that name sound familiar to you? She asked. Elon didn't answer right away. She continued. Elijah Jackson. He was 17 years old. He worked at your Fremont facility in 2013, hired through a third-party contractor. She paused. He died on the floor. The audience didn't move. Not a cough. Not a sound. She went on, her words clear, but steady. He was electrocuted while doing maintenance on equipment he wasn't trained to touch. A supervisor told him to clear the floor, certified or not. She looked directly at Elon. That supervisor still works for your company. Elon finally blinked. His posture had stiffened. He looked at the paper Jasmine had placed down. It wasn't long, just a few pages. But it had weight. Your team blamed Elijah, she said. Claimed he didn't follow safety rules. The Jacksons got a settlement. Quietly. And in return, they were told not to speak. Not to share what happened. Or the money would stop. She tapped a section of the page with one finger. This is your signature on the internal memo that cleared. The supervisor. Elon looked down, but didn't speak. He didn't shake his head. He didn't push back. He just stared. For the first time, he had no reply. The moderator finally broke in, his voice tight. Maybe we should take a short break. He glanced toward the crew. Jasmine didn't even look at him. Just one more thing, she said. She opened a new sheet. It wasn't long, but the print was dense. This, she said, is a Slack thread. From your engineering team working on the Cebu project, your overseas facility in the Philippines. Elon's face twitched at the name. That project was shut down, he muttered, like a reflex. Jasmine nodded. It was, but not before something happened. She began reading. The messages between engineers were about ventilation issues, industrial waste buildup and disposal shortcuts. One message warned that waste was leaking into a nearby estuary. A protected one. Another message said a local contractor tried to alert officials. His contract was cancelled. And the Slack thread. It was forwarded to Tesla Legal in Manila, with a note. Kill this softly. She flipped the page. Your name appears in the chain. You replied, no, headlines. Handle this cleanly. The room didn't react. No gasps, no angry shouts. Just silence. Heavy, full, the kind that presses on your chest. Elon finally opened his mouth to respond. But nothing came out. His lips moved slightly. then stopped. He leaned forward, just a little. Then, a little more. His hand reached for the edge of the table, missed. It then grabbed it again. His eyes blinked fast, like he was trying to focus. Then, right there, live on camera, Elon Musk collapsed forward. His shoulders gave in, and his head dropped toward the table. One hand slipped off the edge. The moderator froze, his eyes wide. The crew offstage yelled, someone calling for medical staff. A woman wearing an EMT badge ran across the back of the stage. Elon's assistant appeared from the wings, rushing toward him. The entire room was suddenly in motion, except Jasmine. She didn't move. Her hands were still gently resting on the edges of her folder. Her face didn't show shock or satisfaction. She just stayed still, watching, like someone who had seen the weight of Truthland before. The camera didn't cut away immediately. For a few seconds, the live feed stayed on Elon's slumped figure and Jasmine's stillness. Then, the screen faded to black, but it was already too late to contain it. The story was already out there. The screenshots, the quotes, the name Elijah Jackson, the Cebu thread. The phrase, "kill this softly," it had already started spreading, not just through TV, but across phones, posts, shares, and streams. The collapse was real, but it wasn't just Elon's. It was the moment everything finally broke open. The panel might have ended, but the story was just getting started. Within hours, clips from the livestream flooded every corner of the internet. On YouTube, the collapse was replayed from every angle. Musk falls during live panel. On TikTok, short edits showed Jasmine reading from the Cebu documents, then cutting to Elon's face, blank, pale, still. On Twitter, hashtags took over. Hashtag Crockett exposes Musk. Hashtag truth on live TV. Hashtag justice for Elijah. No one was waiting for confirmation anymore. The moment had already gone viral. Jasmine didn't say anything. Not that night. Not the next day. No press conference. No Twitter thread. She stayed quiet while everyone else reacted. She didn't need to shout. Her office simply released a file online. A quiet, clean digital packet labeled for public record. It had redacted testimonies, screenshots from Slack, signed whistleblower letters, and time-stamped messages. No drama, just proof. Then came the news confirmations. Outlets like Reuters and CBS verified the OSHA report on Samuel Reeves. The Slack messages from Cebu were real. The settlement with the Jackson family existed, and yes, it had a gag clause. That's when the emotions really hit. On live TV, Elijah's mother sat at her kitchen table holding a photo of her son. He was proud to work there, she said. Until he didn't come home. She didn't cry, she didn't need to. Her voice carried everything. Inside Congress, everything moved fast. Hearings that had been buried were suddenly reopened. Lawmakers demanded a full review of Tesla's government contracts. The SEC launched an inquiry into whether investors had been misled about workplace safety. Environmental groups jumped in to the Cebu incident, now under review by international regulators. And it wasn't just Tesla. Other tech workers from other companies began sharing their own stories. Slowly at first, then steadily, then in waves. Jasmine still didn't say much. She made one public speech in a small room on the hill. One flag, one mic, no stage lights. She didn't mention Elon's name once. She didn't have to. "We reward genius in this country," she said. "Sometimes we worship it. But when that genius starts hurting people, and nobody speaks up, that's not innovation. That's silence dressed as progress." She looked straight into the lens. "I wasn't sitting across from power," she said. "I was sitting across from silence. And I refused to match it." That line stuck. It was posted everywhere, on posters, in classrooms, under Instagram quotes. But it was one phrase that spread fastest. Speak, even if your voice shakes. Factory workers in Indiana. High school students in Fresno. A nurse in Texas. A mechanic in Detroit. They all posted videos, short clips of them telling stories they'd kept in for years. They said they finally felt seen, not because someone yelled, but because someone listened. Jasmine didn't use the attention to chase headlines. She went back to work, quietly visiting small towns, holding low-key meetings in school gyms and community halls, listening to people, taking notes, asking questions that no one else bothered to ask. People didn't line up to take selfies. They lined up to be heard. And just like that, something started to shift. The story didn't end with Elon Musk slumped at a table under bright stage lights. That was just the middle. The real ending, or maybe the real beginning, came after. When people stopped waiting for someone else to speak first, This wasn't about bringing down a name. It was about lifting up a truth. That the most dangerous thing isn't power, it's silence. And now that someone had cracked it open, there was no closing it again.